back to a point that every football club is a business. It has income and it has expenditure, and invariably the expenditure is significantly higher than the income, and therefore it generates a loss every year, and that's funded by the wealthy owner or the benefactor. And if you applied some just logical thinking to what's actually going on here, a football club is a very, I think, a very simple business, and some people will strongly disagree with that comment, but it's only got 4 or 5 revenue streams.
Right.
It's got its match day, it's got its TV, it's got its attendance and corporate and retail, and it's got very predictable revenue. So if you've got a club in League One that's generating, I don't know, 7 million of revenue every year, there's very little opportunity to increase much of those revenue streams. Your match day attendance, generally, the football way is to discount tickets or success on the field. If the team gets lucky and starts winning, then generally more fans will come. But you might only see a 10% increase. So your 7 million might become 7.5 or 8 million. So you can't really drive that revenue. But if you step back from that, Nick, and you look at what revenue streams can I really influence?
Right.
How can I build revenues? And the one income stream that actually, the way accounting reports it, it doesn't get counted as an income stream or on the profit and loss, because you're selling assets, is player sales. Is player sales. And typically a club in England will consider themselves to be lucky if somebody comes in and makes an offer for one of their best players. My philosophy would be like the European clubs. Why don't you develop your players all to be better players and get more offers every year? Because if you sell a player every year for £5 million, your 7 million turnover suddenly becomes 12 million. And so you've had a massive impact on your revenue streams. And of course, it then depends on what you do with that extra revenue. If that extra 5 million is reinvested into player development, into youth development, then you're developing a more sustainable pipeline of talent coming through that's going to, make your team better on the pitch. So you're hopefully going to have better success on the pitch. But your best players are inevitably going to attract offers to buy. So for me, if you look at it from a pure business point of view, the one revenue or income stream you can really influence and have a big impact to increase your budget is player sales. But clubs don't do that. They all say they do, but they don't, because
absolutely. No, I would totally. I mean, what's interesting when you look at I suppose when you're in the Premier League, your expenses obviously are going to be great. So if you're looking in England, but I would agree with you, and there's a lot of clubs I kind of hit on, but I mean, if I look even in the Premier League right now, Manchester United look to be wanting to build their team around their academy. I think they're the only club that's actively trying to do that. I think they're buying players where they need to. But I also think they've got, now whether they'll be in profit, who knows, because I know there's a lot of debt that the Glazers have accumulated in terms of, which is actually genius how they bought the club in the first place, actually, which I think is a good business practice. Whenever so even if you look, for example, RB Leipzig, I mean, I look at like their academy and they've got a bucket load of players waiting in the wings. That once they bring them in, but then they'll move them on. Salzburg and the Red Bull group as a whole is doing that very well. A lot of their West African initiatives. I even saw the same thing with Eupen in the Belgian Pro League. I think they done the same thing. Yeah. They had what's it, Moussa Wagué. He went to Barcelona and they got him for like nothing. So they've obviously done a very good job. I seen recently a player at Royal Antwerp, because we know Royal Antwerp quite good. They sold, I think they sold a player. It's about to be announced to FC Porto. He's actually been sold. The striker, what's his name, Didier Lemkelzee. So, but they're all, and they got I think they sold them for just under 20 million. And for his age, he's 26. So I don't think they're going to see much more out of him in terms of what they want. But do you think that's the key as well? Do you think that in terms of really utilizing the academy in terms of where you have even players that are maybe never going to be in your first team, but you can make money when you sell them.
Yeah, I think there's different levels, Nick, aren't there? I think if you're talking Man United and some of the really big clubs, they're completely at a different level. I would just probably reference, in the Premier League, Burnley, they've just obviously been bought this year by the American capital investment company, ALK. But they've made profit over a number of years. They've invested in their academy, Category 1 academy, and actually they had 40 million quid in the bank when they got taken over. So they've been run very much as a business, and they're probably the exception in the top flight. But lower down, clubs, and I've been around a lot of clubs, Nick, and the first team, the manager is focused on winning games and protecting his job primarily. And very rarely does the manager actually get involved with the academy. There's a complete disjoint between the first team and the academy. And I've seen that at a lot of clubs. Now, I'm sure there are some clubs that it is joined up, but this comes back to this sort of pathway for the individual player to develop to the first team. And if that pathway is not there because the manager wants to go and buy another player, because he needs to find a striker or whatever, the pathway is not there for the youth development. So for me, this then spins back to the leadership of the organisation and the whole organisation being focused on the purpose of what we're trying to do, and almost putting the whole organisation first, not the first team first.
Right.
Because yes, it's important. You need to succeed on the pitch for sure. But by putting the emphasis on player development, the academy, youth development, player development, that will naturally produce, as a consequence, better first team performances. And there's a lot of talk at the moment about the England under-21s failure, and they're talking about how it was, I think 7-8 years ago, when the under-17s won the World Cup and the under-20s won something, and it was very much joined up then, and now it's no longer joined up. And so there's evidence this has happened. But come back to your point and the European clubs. I've actually studied and analysed all the transfers in every club across Europe for the last 5 years, and I've got a whole analytical database on that. But Benfica, Dortmund, and Ajax are the top three in Europe for selling players. I think Benfica have sold something like 600 million euros of players over the last 5 years, and the net spend on spending against players as well as selling is 250 million. So they're actually 250 million in front on player trading over the last 5 years.
Wow.
Now, there's no other revenue stream that a club has that you can add 50 million a year in extra revenue. Right. So, for me, why would you not do that?
Right.
And then, of course, back to England, you can't win games with youth and with young players. Now, I think the best example right now for me in England is Norwich City. They 3 seasons ago, they got promoted to the Premier League, and they had the most academy minutes played in that season. They had one of the lowest wage bills in the Championship, and they sold £40 million for the players that season. They got promoted. They sold Maddison to Leicester, and a defender went somewhere. They've gone the Premier League, didn't work out. They've got relegated. They've kept the bulk of the squad together. They've still sold in this season another 40-50 million pounds of the players. I can't think of them all, but Jamal Lewis.
I think they sold Jamal Lewis, who actually plays for Northern Ireland. He's our left back.
He went to Newcastle.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is they got relegated. They've kept the bulk together. The best players got sold on. They're now 10 points clear, or 13 points clear of third place in the Championship. And again, lots of academy minutes played, and they're going to get promoted again. Now, that they're building a sustainable operating model based around player development, based around community. They've sold, this is from a business perspective, Nick, I don't know whether you saw this, but they've got 22,000 season ticket holders that all have left their money in the club because they rolled it over a season from last season to this next season. and 100% of the season ticket holders have not asked for the money back.